G'day again. Uh, Video for today is part 2 of my Moose scripting for DCS World series. Today we're going to actually look at building a mission with Moose script. If you haven't watched the first video in this series, I suggest you do. Basic explanation on how to navigate GitHub, how to download the Moose script itself, and where some of the resources are located, and also how to download the sound resources from GitHub. Recommend you do look at it. If you know how to do all that, that's great. Let's just dive straight in and we'll set up an Airboss mission. Now, when you first start out with scripting, I find the best thing to do is use other people's script and adapt it to your own. Once that Moose mission environment is running in your mission, it's very easy to start adding features in. So the best place to find an example of a script is going to be on the Moose website. So let's jump into GitHub, and we have the Moose lure that we've downloaded. We don't need to go to that repository. Where I wanted to go is, and we've downloaded from the sound repository the sound files already. I just want to go straight into the Moose missions. So we'll jump in there. And because we're doing an Airboss mission, let's go down to Ops-Airboss. So we scroll down, Ops-Airboss. And we'll just pick the one in the Caucasus, even though we're going to be doing it in Guam. And I'm doing a V-style Airboss mission, so let's select Tarawa Harrier. And we could download the whole mission here, but that's not what we're doing because we're creating our own. But we want to get this lure file and edit it for our own purposes. So let's select the Tarawa Harrier lure that Frankie did. Now, I'm sure he won't mind me ripping off his script to make our own. So let's, don't need to copy any of the notes at the top here. I just want his script. So we're going to start here from Moose. I'm going to highlight it, drag down, and all the way to the end. And we're going to copy that. Now let's bring open our editing program, which I recommend to use Notepad++. Technically, you could do this in a Notepad, but I don't recommend it. Anyway, there's a script I've done for one of our servers, but let's open a new one, and we're going to use this for our test mission. So I'm just going to paste that straight in to a blank file. Now you can see it's just a straight notepad or notepad that's been added. So we're going to save this. Now when we save it, we want to save it as a Lua source file to get all that good formatting going. So Lua source, and then we'll save this as Moose lesson Airboss. Lua. Moose lesson Airboss.lua. Now, I'm going to save this for our mission in our DCS Open Beta Save Games Missions folder. So Save Games, DCS Open Beta Missions, and that's where we're going to save it straight in. So we'll pop that in and it'll get formatted. There we go. Now, we could just start adding all these units in and leave the script as is, and it'd run. Now, there's a few things here that it's doing. It's generating some AI traffic, and it's for Frank's demo, and there's a little section here where you can add your Discord bot in to export your LSO grading, but it's sort of beyond the scope of what we're doing here. You'll note my one down here, I have some functions that are going on as well to export gradings. but it's a little bit more advanced. To keep it simple, we're going to get rid of the AI. We're going to get rid of all this export business to Discord, and we are going to leave this recovery helicoptering because that's pretty interesting. So let's delete that out. We won't be using that part of the script. Function end, just make sure you got that final end there on your functions, and that all looks pretty good. Okay, quick explanation of the script. If we have a look, we got the top line here, settings, set player menu off. This is actually Moose settings. So the Moose script itself, when you call it, it allows some higher level settings to be amended by the player, but they're just turning that off to keep it all pretty standard. I generally, on public servers, leave that off. On our servers that we fly on with people I leave it on. In here, it's setting up a rescue helo that will be spawned, and it will take the plane guard position at the USS Tarawa. Its name will be Rescue Helo. Its home base will be the USS Vicksburg, and set modex, so it gives it the 4.2 modex. This one here is probably the most important because this is creating the Airbus object itself. Now, any good script, when you're doing your own, you should have these commented out sections, these two dashes, and that way it keeps it in order so people can follow it. So Frank's done an awesome job here making it simple to understand what it all does. So I recommend when you do your own scripts, you do that as well. So this creates the Tarawa, the Airbus object using the USS Tarawa. So that is the unit name, not the group name. Some recovery windows that will start automatically at 9 AM, finish at 10, so 1 hour long. That's, nil offset, 15, 30 degree offsets, speeds, U-turns. Anyway, all those instructions for this are located in the documents. So if you go back into the documents section of the website, and in the hamburger, you'll come up and you can go in here and you can read all about those in there. And that's where I recommend you do that and setting your own things. So there's the recovery windows, and it gives you an explanation of what they mean as well. So clicking on any of these hyperlinks will take you to the explanation of what each part of that line of script means. So always refer back to the website until you know how things are going and you get used to the script. So back to our script we're working on. You can see down after the recovery windows, it's setting the TACAN via script, so I don't need to do that in the mission editor. 73 seems a bit high for a Tarawa. I think I'll make it 10. And LHA is fine. We could call it the TACAN ident Tarawa, TAR. And I don't like the name USS Vicksburg either. I'm going to make it a Perry class. We'll call it Ford. USS Ford. Tarawa is fine. And if we go down, this bit here is loading player grades that are saved persistently from your save games / DCS folder. Okay, and this will auto-save into your save games DCS folder as well. So that way, every time your mission loads, you'll always have a persistent set of grades for your LSO grading. Down here, we're setting a radio relay. Now, the reason we set this radio relay is you get a lot of clipping with the Airboss LSO and Marshall radio when it's not being run through an aircraft. So what we're doing is we're relaying through an aircraft, and it tends to work a lot better that way. So there's two here. We've got a CH53 and a SH60. I'm just going to use the same radio relay for both. So we'll use it as an SH60. So let's control copy that and paste it over the CH53. So we'll just use one unit that will relay both LSO and Marshall. Here we have the actual frequencies they'll be on. We can change that to anything we like, so 243 and 265. How about we make the Marshall on 325, and we make the LSO on 305. Now this folder here points to where the sounds are going to be kept. We're going to look at how you insert those into your mission, but that's standard. Airboss sound files standard, so let's just leave it like that because that's what the folder is called that we downloaded in our resources. Okay, remove AI planes. We'll leave that there. We're not going to have any AI in this mission, but it's not going to hurt. We'll leave it in there. Single carrier menu optimization. This is basically saying that if we've only got one carrier, which I do, when I access the Airboss menu from the F10 comms menu, it will go Airboss and then straight into the functions instead of Airboss, USS Tarawa, and then functions. So if I had two carriers, I'd want it to go Airboss, USS Tarawa. So in here, I'd go either get rid of it altogether because the default is false, and I could put false in, and it won't have a menu single carrier. But we'll leave that one as is. And this one here is a manual recovery that you can set through the skipper menu. So Airboss Tarawa set menu recovery, 30 minutes doing 20 knots with a U-turn. Now, if you want to find out what all these functions mean inside the brackets, back to the website. And that's where it all is. This is really important. Start Airboss. Without start, nothing's going to happen. So you're going to start that object that we've defined all these parameters for. Now these functions here are just nice to have. We don't really need them for Airboss, but it's going to make, every time we start a recovery window, it's going to make our rescue helo start up. On recovery start, it will start the helo, rescue helo start. And then when the recovery window ends, it will RTB. And then once it has RTB'd, it will stop despawn. Righto, I think we've got a pretty solid script there. All right, so all we have to do now is jump into the mission editor. And you can remember from last time we left off, we'd set the environment. Let's just check it's still there. There we are. I set a trigger for mission start, load Moose, and loading the Moose script file. So that's as we left it last time. Now we can start populating our mission. Now the easiest way to do this is if I bring a ship in, oh, on a ground unit, I want a ship, and we're going to call it the USS Tarawa group and LHA 1 Tarawa. I'll drop that ship in, put it in here near Guam somewhere, and I want to name that exactly the unit name we had in the script. So remember from our script, we had our unit name for the Tarawa was our Airboss object was USS Tarawa. So the easiest way to do that is copy exactly as it is, and then we're going to paste that into our unit name in DCS. So back to DCS again, and you can see I've placed it. It's called USS Tarawa Group -1. We'll actually want to call it USS Tarawa. Okay, so there's our Airboss object placed in the mission editor. Now we want to give it a couple of other ships to support it. So let's put another ship in, and we wanted the rescue helicopter to be based on the USS Ford. So let's get a Perry class, shall we? Hazard Perry, and we're going to call this one USS Ford. So again, copy and paste, not a bad idea, or you can just type it in. So I'm just going to copy and paste from my script. That way I don't get any mistakes. So we've got the USS Ford in there. Now we'll zoom in a bit. We'll place that, good place to place it when you're doing an Airboss object, and is you, let's edit this group, not add waypoints, place him out here somewhere. I want him about a mile of beam, about there. Okay. And the ships have them steaming that way. All right, we might add another ship in as well. Actually, the second one, we called that US Ford, yep. And we'll add another ship in, another Ford class, or a Perry class, I should say. We'll put it out ahead here, and we'll call that USS. What's a good one? The Perry classes, Rents. There we go. It can be the USS Rents. Okay, just drop back, make sure that the USS Ford looks like the USS Ford. There you go. Dog's getting excited. Alrighty. We've got our 3 ships in our mission editor, and they're as defined in the script. So off we go with everything's happening here. I've got the mailman, the dog going off. It's all happening. We're going to add some waypoints. Have the group sailing around, so we'll send them off up here. And they can make a pass between Rota and Guam. And that will do. Now, to get the script working, we need a recovery helicopter, because we've defined it in the script, and if it's defined in the script and you don't have it in the editor, the script's just not going to run, and you'll get an error. So it's important, anything you define in the script, you define in the editor. So let's just drop an SH60 in, because that's what we wanted, as our plane guard, rescue helo. So one rescue helo. SH60, and I'm just going to drop that anywhere near the fleet. Doesn't matter where, and we're going to select it to late activated. Important, right? Late activation, otherwise it's going to activate and be hovering over the ocean there. So late activated, the script's going to spawn it, and we're going to call that rescue helo. So again, copy and paste. Now this one, we're calling the group rescue helo, but just for good practice, I call the pilot rescue helo as well. Okay, nothing more to do with that. Everything else is going to be managed by the script. Didn't need that waypoint. Let's delete that waypoint. Okay, so we've got our rescue helo. Now, going back to our script, let's have a look at what else we needed there. We needed a radio relay. So if we go down and have a look, we see our radio relay, SH60B radio relay. Just copy and paste that into the aircraft that we're going to use to relay the radio. Now the best place I found to put one of these is not on the forward where our rescue helo is going to go. I'm going to put it on the deck of this the Rents. So if we get another aircraft, another helicopter, I've got SH60, and this group's going to be called SH60B radio relay. The really important thing with this is you're defining a unit here that's going to radio relay, so it has to be the pilot's name as well. So we're going to place that onto the rents, and we're going to rename it SH60 radio relay. And then we're going to set it to be takeoff from ramp. Okay. Now, I set it to uncontrolled, so it doesn't take off. There we go, uncontrolled. Alrighty, so that unit will be effectively just a radio relay for Airboss, for the Marshall and the LSO radio. Okay, we are set. So we've got our group, it's got some waypoints, and we have the rescue helo and the radio relay set in there. Now the mission start is on this one 8 o'clock, and let's make the mission start 8:55, and we know our first recovery window is 9. So at 9 AM, first recovery will start, be case 1 recovery, and then at 3 PM, a case 2 recovery, 2100 case 3. So we'll make a second recovery window. Let's change the time of that to make it 11 AM, and it runs till 12, and it'll also be a case 1. 20 knots, 25 knots, make it 20, it's a little bit quick. There you go. All right, so we get 2 recovery windows in over the space of our mission. We probably don't need this third window here, the case 3, so let's just delete it out. Okay, so we've got 2 recovery windows set, and we can always activate a manual recovery. Okay, so back to our DCS editor. Got our group set, and we've got our rescue helo set for late activation. We've got our radio relay uncontrolled sitting on the rents, and we've got all our unit names and group names as per our script. So all that's left to do now is add an aircraft. So let's add a player aircraft in. So we'll add a Harrier. Aviate-B. Make this a server mission, so we will make it a client, and we will call it Test Harrier, and pilot name can be Test Guy. We'll place it on the Tarawa. It doesn't need any waypoints, it just needs to be on the Tarawa, and we'll set it to take off from parking hot. There we go. So it'll be on the Tarawa running and ready to go. Now, if we're just going to do practice patterns and things on the Tarawa for your loading, let's keep it pretty simple. We might just put the fuel load down a bit so that you don't have to dump fuel and you can come back. About 4,000 pounds, that will be about right. And we'll set up my favorite skin. And we're done. So we're all ready to add our script now and test our mission. So the easiest way to add your script is as a script file, because we just spent all that time putting our file together. or hijacking someone else's file. So we're just going to add it very similar to the way we added the Moose script itself. So I'm going to come in here, and before we do that, let's make sure our file's saved, because it's not. So let's just make sure that what we're putting in there is what we want. So back to our script, you can see it's not saved. We'll save that file. And now back to the editor. And we're going to do new trigger, new, once. We're going to call our script only once to get that Airboss object going. And we're going to call it load Airboss. Okay, so we've got it load Airboss, and we're going to give it a condition. Now I want Moose to load first, and then I want Airboss to load. So we're going to say time more than 5 seconds. It'll be enough for Moose to load at mission start. So time more than 5, and the Airboss script that we're going to load in will load. So new action, do script file, and open the script we wanted, which was Moose lesson Airboss. So let's go Moose lesson Airboss. There it is. And OK. Righto. So we've got our Moose script ready to run. We've got the Moose, or our Airboss script that we just made, ready to run. 5 seconds into the mission. Okay, let's save our mission. Now we could run that now, and we're not going to get any sounds because I haven't loaded the sound package into the mission file. So we downloaded that in our last video, and from the GitHub repository for Moose sounds. So let's go and grab the Airboss sounds we need and put it into our mission file. Now this is a little bit complex, so we'll jump out of the editor itself and go back to Explorer. And we downloaded some Moose sound resources. There's both the same, but I might just delete that one out of there. Goodbye. Okay, Moose sound zip file. Let's have a look what's in there. Moose sound 1.2, which is the latest version. And we've got our Airboss sounds. And in there, we have a series of sound packs for Airboss. Now, in our script, if you remember, if I move this over, you can see that the set sound folder for Airboss sound files was set sound files folder to Airboss sound files. So this is this one. So that's the standard sound file. It includes all the sounds you need. Now, if you wanted different voices, which I quite often use in my missions, you've got Frankie's voice as an LSO, Raynor's voice as an LSO, Frankie's Marshall, and you've got Gabriella as Marshall and Raynor as Marshall. So I quite often use Gabriella as the Marshall because I think her voice sounds cool. And I would have to just redefine what that sound pack file name here in my script is. But we're going to use the standard one here, so we're just going to get that one and we are going to drag that out into our downloads, or into our Moose, into our missions file. Okay. It doesn't matter where it goes, you can download it on the desktop. How about we do that? We'll just stick it on the desktop. There we go. Let's drag it out, unzip it onto the desktop. Righto. So I've got it sitting on my desktop. Now I need to get that into my mission file somehow. The easiest way to do that is to go into our save games missions and find the mission name that we just created. So the name of our mission that we were building, so this is your actual MIS file that you're looking for. So the name of the mission we were building is Moose Lessons -test. Okay, so we go down to Moose Lessons -test. As you can see, I've got a fair bit of stuff in here. Okay, Moose. If I can find it. Where is it? Moose Missions Test. Oh, there it is, Moose Lessons Test. Okay, so that file there, the easiest way to get your sound into this thing is to rename this temporarily into a zip file. So we're going to call it zip. It'll say, do you really want to do it? Yes, I do. And now it's a zip file. We can open it. And inside it is our Moose script will be stored in here. So if I go into this file, default, and then there's our Moose script that we loaded in as a trigger. There's our Moose lesson Airboss script we loaded as a trigger. They're all saved in the mission file. But let's go back to the actual zip file itself. Now we want to add a folder in here that is called Airboss sound files. Well, that's exactly the same as one I just put on the desktop. So let's just grab it off the desktop, drag it in, and I want to stick it in the actual zip itself. There we go. So we now have Airboss sound files folder, and in there is all the sounds required for Airboss. So we've now added it to our Moose mission. So if we back out to missions again and rename this back to MIS file, not zip. Are you sure? Yes. And it will go back to a MIS file. Now includes all our Moose sounds. Right, so now we've done that, we can jump straight back into the editor. Press save again. Yep, save as Moose Mission Lessons Test. That was what we had. Okay, overwrite, yes. Alrighty. Let's test it out, see how it works. Now there's fly the mission. Now while this is loading up, there's a little anomaly that happens here. If I start the mission and jump straight in the jet before our Moose Airboss or our Airboss file is loaded, I'm not going to see the Airboss file. So I have to join the client slot after our file has loaded. So we knew it was going to load 5 seconds in. So the easiest way to do that is just sit as a spectator, let the mission start. After 5 seconds, we'll join the client slot that we created, and we'll have the environment running for us. So while this is loading, going back to our script, when you get errors in your script, it's going to stop running. So it starts at line 1 and starts running down. And if you have an error in this script somewhere, say, for instance, I leave the bracket out of Airboss Tarawa set TACAN. I just accidentally delete that bracket there. Basically what happens, it will stop running on line 19 and it won't run, and it's not going to load any of this stuff, and it's not going to start your Airboss script. So I put that bracket back in again and the script is complete. It will keep running. Now the way we can find out where these errors are taking place is in your DCS log. So if I go into the DCS log, which is located in the Save Games, Open Beta. Right, let's go. Where are we? Let's go in here, missions. So Open Beta. So Save Games, Open Beta, and go into Logs. Now I have a log file that's running. Now I'm going to open that in my Notepad++ to troubleshoot any issues that I'm having with the script not loading or not running. So let's just open it anyway now. Okay, I've default mine to open with Notepad++, so I'll just open it anyway. And there we go. So you can see with that mission's now loaded in the background, it's got everything that's been going on to load that mission. Now once we start the mission, we'll get our Airboss script run. So you can see at mission start, you can see this line here, scripting moose include end. So basically that's saying that moose is now loaded. The actual moose script itself is loaded in our mission. And as soon as we start running, 5 seconds in, we should see Airboss start. So let's go back to DCS and let it start. So I'm going to go back to spectators, let the mission run for 5 seconds, and then we're going to jump in. That's about 5 seconds there. So we'll go into choose slot. There's only one. This is Tarawa. And it will load us into the Tarawa. Excuse the slow loading of my laptop. So I'm doing this on my laptop, not on my flying machine. While that's happening, let's go back out to the script, and you can see some more stuff's loaded in here. As the script was running, we can see that it started loading Airboss. So beacon new, USS Tarawa. We can see the Airboss USS Tarawa, LSO reporting for duty. Sound file or nil. USS Tarawa Marshal Rain reporting for duty. Airboss Tarawa warning, IO not desanitized. That's okay. This is just where I build. It's not my server, so it doesn't matter. So it looks like it's running. The Airboss script is running okay in the lure itself. And spawn local player AV10, that's us coming in. So it doesn't look like we've got any errors. Otherwise we would have an error in here. Now one thing I find in Notepad++ that is a good thing to do is if you define your own language. So I've got DCS log as a language in here. And you can see it will highlight things that interest me while I'm scripting. So it's pretty easy to set up. Your language, so if we go in here and go user defined language, define your language. And here we go. We can just add different styles to different things, different words, and you'll find it quite useful. So I've made my own for just reading the log, and Airboss comes up in green, errors come up in red, warnings in yellow. Yeah, so that's pretty much, we know it's working. So let's jump back in the Go with no errors. Okay, so we're sitting here ready to go. So when I hit fly, I'm expecting to see an Airboss notification at the top of the screen. There we go. So Airboss US Tara, welcome flight student, new call sign. So we know our script's working. So we check the script, bring it up. If we go into the parent menu, other F10, Airboss. Now, when I click this, it will take me straight into the main Airboss menu. And that's because we defined in our mission editor, or in our script, I should say, if we go back to that, you remember in our script we defined that we wanted to have, wherever it is, right here, set menu single carrier. Now, if that wasn't there, when we went from Airboss, we'd have to go to USS Taro and then in. It's just one less layer that you have to go through. So that's why it's worth doing that. And you can see in the kneeboard on, if I go back to DCS again, in the kneeboard we have a skipper menu, results, everything we want. Because it's a new mission, there won't be any results. We haven't done any flying yet. Skipper menu. We can start a case one now using what we defined as our 30 minutes, 20 knots with a U-turn, if we want to. If we go back to the previous menu and have a look at carrier info, you can see the recovery windows we defined are here. So there's one starting at 9, going through till 10, 11 till 12. So all our scripts working. And there's our TACAN channel, 10 X-ray, that we defined in the script. There's our radio frequencies we defined. And X closed. So there we go. We've done our first bit of Moose scripting. We created an Airboss script that works with no errors, and we're up and running, ready to fly. So I hope that sort of explains how easy it is to use Moose script. It's not complex. It's very easy. You just need to know where to go for the resources, what to read, and the more you use it, the easier it becomes. I hope this was useful, and hope to see you using Moose script more. Thanks.